I'm here at the IBC 2023 in Amsterdam, and today we're gonna take a look at some new technology.
We are here at DZOFILM. So this is our new anamorphic lenses. It's called Pavo. It's a very compact, tiny, Super 35, 2x squeeze anamorphic, which consists by 6 lenses, and all of them has a very close focus from around 1 feet 4 to 2 feet 2. The widest open at T2.1. They are optional in blue flare and natural flare version, and with very nice, beautiful ghosting and flare. And we are very excited to launch these lenses after so much delay on the release.
What kind of price range are these new anamorphic lenses in?
Per each anamorphic lenses is €5,000. They can be both a 3-kit lens bundle or 6-kit lens. And this is our new Tango zoom. It's a 5x ratio zoom designed for Super 35 sensor. They all have fluorescent marking so that you can see focus, focal length, and the aperture marking in the completely dark. And all of them, of course, has back focus adjustment.
So I think you and me, we have something in common. It's our first time at IBC. Well, not for you personally, but for IMAX.
This is true, yeah. You know, IMAX cares about a premium video experience, the theater, of course. But the goal is now to take that experience, that premium experience, into the home.
For like the consumer, does that mean like another streaming service, like IMAX Plus or?
There is IMAX Enhanced. Good question. IMAX Enhanced today is on select device manufacturers. I can rightly share that you know, we do work with Disney. We do work with a lot of the large studios. So more titles you'll see landing on both these devices as well as on streaming platforms. We're basically licensing that technology.
What do you think this will mean for filmmakers?
Well, so that's a great question. At the end of the day, you know, a director has a creative vision, right? And so to preserve that artistic creative intent is vital. And when you're moving through a compression chain of like streaming technology, there's visual impairments and things that happen to it. So our goal is to use our algorithm, right, to be able to maintain that threshold of video quality so that that director feels confident that when their babies, their projects, right, like Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer project, gets onto a platform, that it's still within that realm of what their original artistic creative intent was.
If there's like a lower budget movie that doesn't have the budget to use big IMAX cameras or IMAX capable cameras, is there a possibility for this range of films to also be implemented or profit from that?
Ideally, shooting on IMAX cameras, it really brings that vision, that premium experience. But we can also look at ways to take content that, you know, to your point, that wasn't shot on an IMAX camera, that can be optimized to enhance it. IMAX is not looking to, you know, serve the entire population in that regard in terms of its premium experience. So it is it's just that, right? There is a premium type element to it. But yeah, I think generally it's not just limited to assets that were only shot on IMAX camera. There's a way for us to, you know, to optimize, to bring a kind of more premium experience to the consumer, for sure. Yeah.
Our company is Guangzhou Zhiying, and we have the brand Colbor. Colbor is our promising new brand.
Right, so this is interesting because I just made a video about the 220, and it looks like you now have a version of that same light with RGB functions, right?
Yes, we have the 220 watt RGB version. At this IBC show, we bring the 660 watt bicolor, so you can see it has the features of waterproof, and also it has the touch screen. And also we bring the new softbox for the 4 kits together.
Just talked about the NATO design of your lights, which is quite unique, I think. I haven't seen that on any other light. What was your first intention, how to include this?
We make this design because when the starters, they purchase one CL60, and later they become more professional and they need a more powerful light. They can purchase just one more or two more CL60 to put them together to become maybe 100 watt or 200 watt, 300 watt, even 1000 watt together. And sometimes the light can be work alone, sometimes they can work together. So this is the original concept of our design.
So we're here at Sony with the new Burano camera. Who do you think this camera is for?
I think it suits a lot of different segments, a lot of different people and users, because it's a mixture of what we have available already in our cinema line and the Cine Alta segment of cameras. So there is a gap in the market of our own cameras. So for people who want to continue to be in the Sony environment, they can now do so in a 25K environment, where so it's an upgrade from an FX6 or an FX9 up to a Venice camera. It's kind of sitting nice in the middle between it. So there's a lot of owner-operators, I believe, who have been waiting for this camera, because we haven't really announced the camera in this price range for about 10 years.
I've heard, at least from like someone who talked about this camera just on YouTube, he said it would be like kind of the perfect mix between something like the Red Komodo and an FX6 or like some camera that you would maybe use for documentary work. Would you also say this is kind of like an all-rounder?
It's definitely a hybrid camera. The FX6 is a great camera. It's been very successful. These cameras from FX6 and FX3 and FX9, they haven't really had the capability of internal recording RAW. Unless you had the budget for a Venice camera, you haven't experienced the Sony's own RAW. We have a compressed RAW we called XOCN, so it's the original camera negative. And this is a 16-bit linear workflow. This means that you can, well, similar to what you're doing with your Red, you can go in post and then you can change your settings afterwards. The only thing you have to decide, because this is a 16-stop dynamic range camera, you need to choose where do you want that dynamic range to be. Should it be in the highlight? Should it be in the low light? So you have to decide, do I want to go for the low base ISO, which is 800, which is great for daylight, or do you want to use the high base ISO, which is 3200? And this is great for many low light applications. Documentaries, yes, because as a documentary you might go to locations where it's dark. If you suddenly add light to that scene, you might ruin the story that you're actually trying to capture and create as a documentarist.
Now, because you also implemented autofocus and also like image stabilization, stuff that we've already seen from your popular mirrorless cameras into like a high-end cinema camera, how do you expect that to change the industry?
I mean, we've already seen this with some of the productions that have been used. With the Burano, we've been sending this around for documentary, and they've already benefited from this. As a solo operator, if you can leave some of the trust to the camera to do some of the more simple jobs for you, like maybe, well, it's a talking head. I mean, this is a great example. Well, then instead of having to focus on actually pulling focus every time I move closer and move further away and giving that extra stress, well, you could leave the camera to do that for you, and you can concentrate on other subjects. In many applications, I think people will adapt. We've increased the AI technology in the autofocus compared to previously. Previously, it would scan for a human and find the human face and then hunt for the eye. But what happens when you then turn around and don't have a face to track? Well, then the AI now has been developed to also scan for the exoskeleton. I think people who understand the autofocus will embrace it in certain situations. And then there's the more controlled and creative environment. I think it's a very versatile and flexible camera. I don't think that people just say, oh, I don't want to use this camera because I don't want autofocus. Well, if you don't want autofocus, you can simply just not use it.
With this being such a hybrid camera, basically being able to do all kinds of jobs, do you think this is the perfect camera?
I think it fits many different projects. Saying the perfect camera, I think that's a bold saying. I don't trust myself to say that there is a perfect camera. There is the perfect choice in terms of this project, the workflow and the customer journey. But understanding what it is you need and listening to what the customer wants, I think this is the key to make the right tool for the right projects.
What do you personally like about this camera? Your personal opinion?
To be honest, one of my most exciting things about this camera is more people will have access to the Sony's XOCN, being able to record on Sony RAW instead of third-party RAW. There's so many people who have never tried it before, and I'd challenge everybody to try it and give it a go and be surprised how much color is available in the Burano, which is comparable with what you can do with the Venice camera. I think this is a really underestimated secret sauce that we have in the Burano.
Atlas Lens Co. IBC 2023, let's go!
I'm really interested in the Mercury lenses.
It's much more compact than our other Orion anamorphic lenses, because the Orion, it's comparatively, it's much heavier, but it could go very run and gun. Yeah, like they're like, ooh, the perfect lens doesn't exist. You guys seen that meme? Look at the Mercuries, look how small they are, look how compact they are. It's much more attainable than other lenses, I would say.
Would it be possible to do like a collaboration to test out the Mercuries for like a video?
How much money you got?
Nothing.
Okay.